Me too.
So thank you. Yes, thank you, Rob, and thank you everybody who's online. I'm Lucy Crichton, and I'm speaking to you from an island in the south of Brazil. And my question this morning or this afternoon is it very expensive and difficult to start a small private school? Well, in my case, no, not expensive, and no, not difficult. But, of course, there are some underlying questions that need to be answered in order to actually set up a small school, okay? So I'll be talking about the place that you're going to have your school, the students, the resources, how to find perhaps good teachers, your staff, whether or not you're going to use books, course books or not. The most important one, I think, really is once you have a school, how do you keep it alive? So here we go. I think my starting point was connected very much so to my underlying philosophy about education in general. And I think my starting point of having my school was being able to teach children and teenagers English through a diversity of activities. And also, my very first students came from the school where my own daughters were studying, and they were all going to a Waldorf school. So it was really important as well that my school would reflect the methodology and the underlying educational beliefs from the school where my students were coming from. So it started off just with 5 children in my house because I didn't have much money. The parents wanted me to teach the students for the whole afternoon so that they would be able to work and do their things knowing that their children were in a safe environment. So you can see some pictures here. You can see that we have a space outside the house that we use as the playground, where we have circle time and where we have break time. And you'll also see another picture where we have children inside my house toasting marshmallows in the fireplace. I'm very lucky to live in a small village and I live close to the beach, so sometimes before we actually had a proper school building, we often had classes on the beach as well, as you can see. And the last picture here is the actual school that we've had now for more or less, I think, 6 years. And you can see that it's the same style of building as the house, because we wanted the house, the sort of home environment of learning to reflect in the environment of the school. Yes, the sort of home and garden aspect. So it's important for you to think very carefully about where you want your school. Is the location easy to get to? Is there parking? How accessible is it from main roads? So that it's practical as well for parents to get to. Especially if you're like me, you're teaching children and teenagers, okay? I live in Florianopolis. I can see somebody asking Louise. Hi, Louise. I live in Florianopolis in the south of Brazil. It's the island of Santa Catarina. It's just before, there's one more state, and then it's Uruguay. So it's very south, okay? Okay, so yes, it is Florianopolis. Here we go. On to the next slide. I'll try and answer the questions if I see them, okay? So, now you have your place. Who are your students? I think one of the most important things would be perhaps to think about what age group do you know most about? And in my case, I had my 2 children were young. I was researching and studying about young learners, so that was definitely a starting point. Another point is, like, if you have your school, what other schools, planting and etc. that we do, we also have, the possibility for children to really take off their shoes and socks and to be in nature, which is very good for them too. You can also see a picture of a little boy on top of a rock, which is like 5 minutes from our school. We're so lucky. So we really use the resources that we have around us. And he's doing a bit of poetry writing on the seafront. Next item. Who will you have on your team? How many teachers will you have? Will you need teachers? I started off on my own, as I've said, with a group of 5 students, and very slowly the school grew. I didn't do any advertising for the school because where I live, the best advertising is by word of mouth. And it's really interesting, this aspect of word of mouth about your school, because you tend to attract exactly the right people. So you attract the right people to your school, the parents connect to the pedagogical methods that you have, they like the space where your school is, and they tend to want to keep their children studying with you for a very long time. Also, in the top picture you can see the relationship is very important with the teachers that you have, that they really understand the students who are going to be in their classrooms, right? So I have, when I'm teacher training, when I'm inviting new teachers into my school, I have like a little manual that says everything, exactly the way we do things here, from greeting the students at the gate to organising the cleaning router when they're cleaning the classrooms, to the pleases and thank yous. Every single little tiny detail is in my teacher's manual, and it's really important that the teachers who teach with me understand Waldorf education too. Another really important thing about having your school too, I think, is, are you going to have an administrator? Are you going to have a secretary? Who's going to help the business side of things, okay? At the beginning, I did everything, but I'm just a teacher. I'm not an administrator, and I'm not a business manager. So eventually, I was very lucky to find a wonderful administrator to help me in my school. She's very trustworthy, and she's also a very pleasant person. So my new clients, my parents of my students, are greeted by a smile. They're greeted by somebody who knows a lot about the school and who can help them with any of their doubts. So it is really important. It's not just somebody on a computer taking the fees. It's somebody who really is connected to the methodology and to the philosophy of a small language school. Even the cleaner that we have, who cleans the school, it's important that she knows what's happening in the space that she's cleaning, so that we have a clean school, that things are in the right place, things are respected, the things that we put on the wall. So it's all connected, right? Even the gardener, who is a Brazilian man, he doesn't speak English, but he is going to be working in the garden sometimes when the students are out playing. So he needs to understand what we're doing there as well. I mean, we are working as a team, and I want to see in my team people smiling, and people happy, and people enjoying being in an environment with children. Also, do think about what books. Are you going to use course books, or are you going to invent something of your own? I highly recommend that you have some sort of course book as a sort of tool, because course books are really good in that they have a through line of learning. They have a sort of beginning, middle, and an end to the learning process. They organize the vocabulary, they organize the grammar for you, and I think it's really good to have course books. But for me, they are tools. As I've said, I have the whole afternoon to work with my students, so I think it's important to have space to create something new. We also have literature books, so we have projects in reading with our students. Often the reading books we have turn into small end-of-term plays or songs or poems. So the richness that we have in our printed material is really important, yes, especially, as I've said before, when you're working with children. Okay? Am I doing okay for time?
You're a little over.
Yes. Where do I see? Oh, elapsed time. Okay, here we go very quickly then. Wait.
Fast.
Classroom styles. Make sure your classroom looks nice for the students that you have. If you're having children, you don't really want like really cold floors and no color in the classroom. You're going to have to think about something specifically for those clients. You also have to think about connecting to the parents in your school, to keep your school interesting, to listen to feedback, and to keep up to date, okay? You also should think about keeping integrated into the local community where your school is. So you take your students out and about, and you do random acts of kindness, like the kids take the stuff from the vegetable garden to the little old lady who lives on the corner. You have to be a community member if you have a school. And finally, people always think, oh, it's a successful school, it's so easy to do, but it's so not, because you need dedication, hard work, discipline, persistence, sometimes failure, a lot of sacrifice, but just always have passion, and that'll be successful. Thank you, Rob.